All right. Well, thank you so much. It's great to be able to watch again. I feel like I hear something new every time I listen. The recording is on our website if you need to go back to it and check any of the titles. And you can also use the link that's in our chat to find some of those. So please feel free to put questions in the chat. Karen and I are monitoring the chat and we'll read out your question, or you can unmute and ask it. And maybe while folks are thinking of a question, one that comes to mind for me is, INSIYA, I really appreciated you talking about your inspiration from when you were a child, going all the way back to an early book and story. And I'm wondering if you wanted to say anything more about that, and also if any of our other panelists can think of a childhood book that inspired you.
The Big Short, which is not a particular book, series of books, it's actually made up of 5 books, was almost all the kids in India get to read this book. And it's actually fables. It's little stories about how to lead a very good life, a wise life. And so they have these stories about, and they have these animals which are given human characteristics. And that's what's really cool about it, that somebody all those many centuries ago actually thought about this and was able to communicate that. And it's been, so I think it was fascinating from that perspective. There are all these translations and everything. So, that's mainly why I wanted to pick this book, even though it's hard to pinpoint certain essays or things from it. But so.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you.
I actually had a question for Patience. In Patience, the last bit about Hoffman, where he talks about the artist's mind, and have you seen similar analysis or things like? I find that very fascinating that he was able to kind of put together a little, diagram and kind of show how that works in a very scientific way when he's talking about a creative process.
Well, funny you should ask. It's like a planted question, because this is the week that the UNAF, United Nations Association Film Festival, is on. It's a festival about human rights issues, and it's virtual this year. UNAF, here we go, UNAF, and you can find it online. And there's a terrific film on Thursday on Marcel Duchamp called Marcel Duchamp, Art of the Possible. And it's one of the best art documentaries I've ever seen, because it clarifies why he was such an important figure in 20th century art, not only in his own time, but through the century past his death, the influence he's had on modern contemporary artists, and how he assimilated scientific ideas, how he assimilated so many things from other fields. It's a companion to the Hans Hoffman essay. It's really a wonderful film. So Duchamp, Art of the Possible. And the festival is set up virtually, so you can log in and see that film anytime during the 24 hours of Thursday the 22nd. So you can buy tickets individually or buy a pass for the festival, which runs through a week from today. But of all the films in this year's festival, that's the one that really hits the art world in a way that is accessible to anybody.
Very interesting.
Thank you for the questions. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Well, it sounds like a fabulous film.
Somebody's asking for Patience to send a link to see the film. So maybe if you can set it in a chat.
Okay, well, if you Google UNAF, UNAFF, that will bring you right up to the festival.
Perfect,
and
thank you.
Give you all the information to get tickets and see the schedule. And films are paired in sessions, so that one's paired with an entirely different art film that might be of interest to you as well. But the Duchamp is special.
And you said it was called Duchamp, the Art of the Possible, right?
That's right. And films that make it into the festival, you sometimes can't see any other way. On the other hand, some of the things in UNAF go on to be nominated and win Oscars and are become globally known. So it's a great little festival, and it's here in Palo Alto.
Fantastic.
Anybody have any questions or books they like? It's funny when you asked about if there were childhood books. I mean, I don't, not artistically, I think. For me, it was seeing a painting that kind of turned the light on. That I think I was 17 and I saw a painting of Mary Cassatt's in Paris. And I was just floored by it. And I think that was sort of when I had always been going to museums, but that painting just kind of blew the top off my head. So
fantastic.
Exactly.
I can think of something fairly early on that was really inspiring, and many of you might already know it. Nick Bantock wrote a series of books, the Griffin and Sabine books, and also something called Wedding Room, I believe. And those are, his work is just gorgeous mixed media, painting and illustrative drawing. And the books are narrative, but they feature little fold out envelopes where you can take out correspondence and read them. And it has a really interactive component, and they're really artist books, but also in narrative form. So fabulous, and would make great gifts if people are looking for a gift list too.
Yeah. No, that's a good choice. Because I remember, do you remember the Diary of a Victorian Lady or a Woman, I think it was called? And I don't know, I think it might have been a reproduction of a diary that had been done by a Victorian lady woman who had done these incredible sort of botanical, it's actually sort of what you're seeing in journaling now, where she had all done the plants and some of the little animals sketching all across pages. And they had done a reproduction, I think it must have been in the early 80s. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, for mentioning that. I have that book and I forget that it's on my shelf, but it's really gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think that's true, Patty. About sometimes you can turn back to your own books later on and find that looking at them later, it's almost a new experience because you're the one who's changed, and then revisiting this same object and story and visuals as a changed person, you have a whole new experience.
Yeah.
The question on a good book on bookbinding or bookmaking for big.
Good question.
I think the at least, I mean, what kind of bookbinding? I mean, Alicia Golden is pretty good as because she keeps it pretty simple and basic, and the language is very accessible.
And that's linked in the document that you can get it. What was the title again, Karen? It's 100 artist books, is that right?
Yeah, Making Handmade Books, 100 plus bindings. And she's got another book that she did before this, and this is sort of an expanded version, so there's more in there. Because is there another book that anybody used initially that they really liked?
So I found, I did use the Keith Smith book that I recommended, but it is a little bit of a struggle. I'm not sure I would call it a beginning book, but I think if it's being given to someone who has the dedication to do just trial and error, it's a classic and it's a fabulous resource. So maybe just giving it with the caveat that it'll take a little work, but will pay off.
Yeah.
I find
Jamila, you must have an idea.
yeah, Jamila, what do you think?
Yeah, Alyssa Golden and also Shireen LaPlante.
That's the name I'm
Oh,
trying to think of. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, she has a good one for beginners, and I have several of them. Gigi, just tell me what you want. Yeah, I have a bunch, like a shelf full of book. When I was able to go to the library sales, I would always look in the arts and crafts section, and I would buy all the books on bookmaking.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the books that I was going to, instead of forms of paper, was going to talk about Claire Van Vliet book. If you're interested in sort of sculptural or like using an alternative method, I can put that in the, it's another kind of bookbinding, but she doesn't do it. She does it with strips of paper and weaving in and out. One of the other ones I really liked is by bookbinding by Kathy Abbott. Has anyone used that one? So that one has been something that I've used quite a bit as well.
And that's more traditional
Yeah.
binding, codex.
Yeah, it's more traditional. It's not for artist books.
I would say that the Claire Van Vliet and the Keith Smith are not for beginners
Not for beginners.
or the faint of heart.
Or the faint of heart. I think that's probably appropriate.
I have 2 copies of the Claire Van Vliet because someone said, take this away. I cannot handle it.
Yeah, and I figured it out from Karen's, she gave me her books that she had made, and I recreated them based on that. So yes.
I think those are all.
I wanted to say hi to Patience just because we met several years ago when I was dealing with my friend's estate, Canel Jackson. And you were very helpful to me in accepting much of his collection into the Cantor. Hi.
What a small world.
Yeah.
He was such a dear and strong and important man. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing him up. Yes.
We had a comment in the chat from Rebecca that the Claire Van Fleet book is available online for free too. If people look that up, you can probably find it.
Yeah, it was out of print and copies of it were selling for very high, double what it was originally. And then she made it available. I think it's just, I think you can even get it through Amazon for the digital.
$520. We can buy it for $520. Amazon, right?
Wow.
Hang on to those.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions or book recommendations if someone has one that they thought of during our talk. Patience?
Childhood books.
Yes.
There were only a couple that came immediately to mind, but I was always turned off when the illustrations weren't good. And I was turned off when they didn't correspond to the text. And the ones that come immediately to mind that do are Robert McCloskey's books, like Homer Price, where the text and the drawings, they're not anything special except they're perfect. And the drawings for the borrowers. These sweet little, very fine ink line drawings with hand coloring in that is perfect for these little people who live behind the wainscoting.
Yeah.
And Patience, you shouldn't be reading any of the Panchtantra because the illustrations there were terrible. Some of them were really bad because they were all, it was everyone's interpretation and there were 1 million copies. So the ones I got were just really bad.
You know, one thing that I've used a lot in bookmaking is my origami skills.
Yes.
And that
Mm,
started
mhm.
when I was a child with a little origami book, origami animals, and very simple stuff. But I use that surprisingly a lot in bookbinding.
Which is true.
With folding, you gotta know how to fold.
Yeah.
I see on the chat, Virginia mentioned the books called 500 Handmade Books and the 1000 Artist Books and etc. Santa Clara Library System has those. They're in Los Altos and Saratoga Libraries
Yeah.
and others.
Those are
Oh,
great books.
fantastic.
Just it's primarily a picture that you're looking at, but they're so good at sort of sparking where you could go with something. Yeah.
Right, great inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I want to thank everyone so much for joining us and for listening and for sharing your own ideas and recommendations. And please do have a look around our website and see some of the work that's up there. Check out the marketplace. And thank you very much.
And Astrid, I wanted to thank Astrid for putting this whole day together. Great work.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's my pleasure. I absolutely love hearing from you.
Thank you, Astrid.
Yes, Astrid, wonderful selection of speakers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was really great.
Pleasure to participate.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.